And today, coming right down into somewhat more practical area, is the idea of the varieties of will. Now, what I want you to think about is the kind of will that you need to take your next step. Obviously, you have a wide selection. And the question is, what can you really apply in this sort of first-rate context to move ahead to that which you really inwardly must do? Now, these kinds of will, this is not all by any means, but the will to be, the will to synthesize, the will to good, you've heard these words all the time, I'm sure. The will to create, the will to preserve, the will to destroy, that's the Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva aspect of it all. And then again, the will to create in another context. The will to create, the will to fulfillment. See, will to create is Aries, will to fulfillment is Leo. The will that overcomes death, what sign? Right, Capricorn, okay. Then come the 7 ray aspects of the will. The will to initiate, ray 1, will to unify, ray 2, will to evolve, ray 3, will to harmonize, ray 4, will to act, ray 5, will to cause, ray 6, will to express, ray 7. And then you have we're not going to go into this because the next part, but you should be aware, there are 12 zodiacal aspects of the will. So according to your sun sign, your rising sign, and the sign opposite your sun sign, those will be especially important in a zodiacal sense. And then, of course, the planetary wills. We have all of these different planets. Let's say we have 10, okay? And each one of them has a specific type of will associated with it. So out of all of that, you should be able to come up with what you need. See, the application of will is not the same as desiring something to happen. You desire, you can desire till you're blue and it won't happen. But will provide that it happens. So just a quick little review. Yesterday I decided that any universe is a temporary, apparent, illusory exile from absoluteness. Well, that ought to do it. This is the X of... All right, well, it's just the Maya, and Maya is so mysterious. The great sage Shankara said, most mysterious is Maya, and forever. That stopped me in my tracks when I was reading the Viveka Kudamani, the crest jewel of discrimination. Wonderful little book. And by the way, someone talked just the other day about the books that Master D.K. said you should have in your hand, right? The Bhagavad Gita, the New Testament, the Light of the Soul, and the Viveka Kudamani. Okay, so a great inspiring. So it's the crest jewel of discrimination. It takes you into the 4th initiation, which is imminent for all of us, right? Okay. All right. First, the will to be, right? So I was saying before, the will to be is really the will to exist in universe. It is the will which originates and later sustains presence in universe. It originates the universe and it sustains the presence of the universe and of any being in the universe. It's later to be destroyed by the will to destroy. Whatever comes together falls apart. This is the great Buddhist doctrine, and it's so true. So what comes forth, like you, like me, may be an emanation or maybe a combination of emanations, but it's all supposed to be aligned with the logoic divine purpose. And when we are purpose aligned, we really begin to live. The greatest example of this will to be, or more specifically, the will to exist in and as a universe, is the emergence of the universal logos repeatedly and infinitely, precipitated by the periodical arising of the ray of the Absolute, followed by the great choice of the self-observing absolute deity preceding the opening of the Mahamanvantara. Okay, that's as complicated as it's going to get. All right. But I think, that kind of sums it up, at least in my view of this philosophy. So, and then there's a whole question about post-prolaic and pre-universal time. Okay, we can deal with that as we go along. So it brings the universal logos into a state of periodical self-objectification. Actually, that's what we're doing too as souls. We have these periodical self-objectifications in the lower world. So The period of periodical is the existence of a universe, and a universe lasts as long as the universal logos lasts. All right, now let's get closer to home. That was a review. Now, closer to home and more useful to us as disciples, the will to be. It's a little different. You know, I was talking about the will to be as it descends into manifestation. Now, I'm talking about the will to be as we want to apply it, because Master DK says he's an initiate into the mysteries of being. And that should tell us something, he said. I don't know how much it told us, but maybe it should tell us he's a master. All right, so the will to be, from another perspective, is that power which drives the consciousness towards identification as being. Now, so in another way I call it the will to be being, the will to be being. Are any of you possessed by that will to be being? Yes, right? Yes, I mean the will to know, the will to love, the will to will, and of course, what's our real identity anyway? It is being, so we have the will to be being, and there are many techniques that we can use to do that. All right, now let's get into some, let's see if here I am, yeah. Get into the will to good. Now, I'm not saying these are the ultimate definitions, but they are types of will which are important for all of us to understand, and if we can, a little bit, apply it to our lives. So, the will to good is the will, okay, now we'll think together, which sustains primordial universal archetypes and brings them further and further into emanative existence until the furthest diminutive extension of a universally logoically willed emanation is reached. And I call that a UPI. Okay, I had to summarize it somehow, right? An ultimate particle event, which is the tiniest diminutive extension of the universal logos. You know, he can keep on going to infinity except he wills to stop, or it wills to stop. So, more practically, the will to good carries the divine archetypal purpose deeper and deeper into manifestation, into existence, until apparently all apparently distinct things, i.e. perceptions, because all things are logoic self-perceptions, are ordered by archetypal goodness. So the will to good is the will to archetypal goodness working out in the world of becoming, where we're all living. In the world of being, no worries. It hangs out there, it's perfect. But in the world of becoming, we need to reflect the archetype, and every one of us has a secret name in our inner spiritual nature, in our inner monad, and we need to reflect that somehow over the years until our perfection in getting our little archetype out there means that if everybody does it, the divine will gets done. Okay. You know, this is superficial, but I give it to you in the crash bang manner, and I'll send it to you if you want to contemplate these things. The will to create, it shows up twice. The will to create emerges as the will to unfold the universal design, algorithm purpose, as the will to unfold the universal design, which all of us have, in all its beauty and diversity takes place. A finite portion of the absolute infinitude has been self-selected by the self-observing absolute deity, that's you and me, and it must be unfolded in universal objectivity in Mahamayavic exile. So the will to create sees to this unfoldment. In other words, what are we creating? We're creating the possibility that what we envisioned before a universe will actually take place. And all of our creations and our mistakes and all the rest of it go towards creating that perfect reflection of the archetype from above. We're not perfect yet, are we? But inwardly we are. So we've got to learn how to create our perfection in the lower worlds. Then you know how it is, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, right? The creator, the preserver, the destroyer, right? All of these types of will are part of your life, can be. And you have to concentrate on one or two to really make yourself happen. Okay, the will to preserve is the sustaining power which holds a desired or archetypal energy force formation in a coherent state until it's ready to be destroyed according to the requirements of the divine plan and divine purpose. We might call this the will to hold it all together. you know, and I think it's an integrative type of will. And it's the preserver, it's Jupiter, it's the second ray. There's a desirable relationship which is understood in Buddhi as pure reason. Pure reason reveals that the desirable archetypal relationship, and this will to preserve holds it together in the right way until it's no longer needed. Now, a lot of us, you know, we're really working with this type of will. The will to destroy, a first-rate power, which at best destroys in-universe relationships which have outlived their usefulness as conduits of the divine plan and the divine purpose. The destroying is good, you know, at a certain point, otherwise you get cluttered up with the past. And the whole thing about absolute infinity is it's always producing the ever new, ever new. It's just so paradoxical it could drive you crazy. Try it sometime. It's a lot of fun. Okay. Yeah. Now, the will to create, I said a little bit about that, but it's also part of another series. Will to create, will to fulfillment. Okay. And the will which overcomes death. Now, the will to fulfillment, which all of us really want, you know, it's a big Jupiterian thing. The will to fulfillment emerges as the power to sustain the emanative path of each being in emanation through successive points of achievement. Through successive points of achievement. It is especially the power which assures the correct return of all of us, of each being in emanation, through successive points of achievement along the emanative path it originally followed from the one into the many. Now, so, you know, I'll try to sum it all up. We all want to be fulfilled, one fulfillment after another. And as we do so, our ring past knot keeps on expanding until, okay, from a very vast perspective, it's the will to re-become the universal logos in full consciousness. How can you be happy unless you reach that point? All right. Or maybe we never thought of that. I suppose this would be the time to stop being dizzy. When I start to read these things, I get a little dizzy. Okay, so from a vast perspective, just think of it. I mean, we round ourselves out. We become the monad. We become the amalgamated monad. The amalgamated monad becomes something else. 49 groups of solar angels become a planetary logos. This is that fusion of identity along the path of return. There's only one at the top. You can't have, you can't have gazillion at the top. There's only one. So how are you going to break your ring past knots? Along the way, you have to break your rings past knot. And this is what does it. And then you break one ring past knot after another and get bigger and bigger and bigger, and of course smaller and smaller and smaller at the same time. The will to re-become the universal logos in full consciousness. And that is the ultimate fulfillment in any universe. Right now it'd be enough to be a soul. Okay? Right. We're looking ahead. We've done it all. We've done it before. Okay. The will that overcomes death. This is the power which obviates, eliminates, makes unnecessary the loss of consciousness during the process through which one form of expression of the monad is exchanged for another. Death is all about consciousness, and if you don't lose consciousness, there's no death. So, you're not blanked out. There's a continuity of consciousness here. And from another point of view, the will that overcomes death in a more material sense is the power which can sustain a form in perpetuity. Now, Master R had that, okay? Though such an act, if one is not such a master, might be seen as death to consciousness, through limiting its growth and expansion by entrapping deathlessness, by the entrapping deathlessness of the sustained form. If you stay in the same form too long, your consciousness can't expand, unless you know how to really do it, okay? Okay, now, so, do you feel any relation to any of those types of will? I mean, these are little things that, we use this type of will, but we use it in a much attenuated fashion, okay? Much attenuated. We're little human beings here, and we don't use it in a cosmic sense, but one day we will. All right, now the 7 ray types of will. All right, DK has said in red here, the will to initiate, it's ray 1. He says it's that which incites to and produces initiation. It's an Aries kind of thing. and I say the intra-universal will to initiate. When I say intra-universal, I mean it's in the universe, it's not in absolute infinitude, though really nothing is extracted from absolute infinitude. The intra-universal will to initiate is the power to originate the appearance and propel the mission of that which is new in any particular context. So to originate the appearance of that which has not appeared before, not in exactly the same way, within that context. It is the power to make possible penetration into the new. That's what initiation really is. Is there anything new, really? There's not really anything new. In absolute infinitude, there's nothing new, except in exile, infinitude, everything can be new, because it's limited. And whenever you have limitation, the new is always possible. When you have no limitation, the new is not possible, because it's already there. All right, never mind. Never mind, Michael, never mind. Okay. The will to unify, ray 2. DK says, that which is the cause of vision. It's the second ray thing. That which is the cause of vision or the power to see. What is it? The quality of the hidden vision is the second way of inducing soul control. It's related to the second ray. So sight, we know that, sight is a very unifying sense. It brings many relationships together in a unified field under the eye. Maybe 80% is through the eye, and it makes of the many one. Okay, the will to unify is the power to bring together into an harmonious perceived oneness, which is at least congruent, harmonious with the divine plan and divine purpose, a range of factors which had previously been seen as disparate and even dissonant with each other. So this will to bring all together into an articulated oneness. Now there's another later kind of thing which brings everything together into a homogeneous oneness. In unity, you still see all the separation in harmony with each other. In homogeneity, you don't even see the separation. And that's another step. Okay, moving on before I moved off. The will to evolve, which is ray 3. And DK says, that which develops sensory perception into knowledge, knowledge into wisdom, and wisdom into omniscience. It's connected with the third ray. And then elsewhere he says, this is the will to education. That's what he calls it. Something like that. The will to evolve is the power to cause and create increasingly purpose-congruent, light-revealing relationships upon any emanation's path of emanative return. We're all on the path of emanative return, and we're getting lighter and lighter, more and more knowledgeable. We're on our way to omniscience. Omniscience is a universal factor, but then there's planetary omniscience, systemic omniscience, and so forth. The will to evolve gives us that. Okay, you want to evolve? I do. Okay, you do too, I hope. It means to return along the path. The will to harmonize, ray 4. Now this is interesting because it's so intuitive. DK says, that which is the illumined will, the basis of buddhi or intuition. It's a very Mercurian, Neptunian kind of thing. The will to harmonize or relate is the power which at length brings all relationships in the world of becoming into harmony with the archetypal relationships sustained within the world of being. Okay, in the monad, world of being. Buddhi, it's the world of harmony. Down here below, it's the world of becoming. So harmonizing all relationships according to the Buddhic pattern. This is the will that brings about right relations which are harmonious with the divine plan and purpose. Okay, right. Race against the clock, but we'll make it. Ray 5, the will to act. Now this is very interesting what DK says here. That which is the cosmic seed of liberation. Wow. How Ray 1 and Ray 5 and 1 are related. This is an aspect of destruction. Ray 5 souls become Ray 1 souls. Very interesting. The will to act is the power to take specific, knowledgeable, limited, concrete action on numerous universal vibratory levels. It is the will to effect specific, purpose-congruent change in line with the divine plan and divine purpose. You know how fifth-rate people, they want to be practical, they want to get something done, and they want to apply their knowledge. It's the ray of applied knowledge. So this is what this is all about, the will to act. And of course, it means much more on the higher planes. The will to cause is ray 6. That which, now it says DK, that which is the cause of the thought form building faculty related to the creative urge. It's strongly motivated by desire and aspiration. So this will to cause is the power to marshal, to bring together the energies and forces necessary to bring about pre-visioned results. It's all about vision and the pre-visioning which has to be achieved or caused to be. So relationships are demanded by the archetypal source. It is the use of this type of will, through the use of this type of will, intense desire leads to make happen that which is desired, the will to cause. And he says the 6-ray disciples are needed. They can really motivate. They can drive you forward with fire towards the achievement of that which is envisioned. We have 21,000 more years of it. Okay, in a larger cycle. And finally, in this series, the will to express. That which can be called the principle of order is what DK says. The will to express is the power which concretizes certain arrangements of energies and force on planes lower than the plane from which the intention to concretize originated. You express outwardly, you express down. You know, you're not expressing in heavens because you cannot penetrate there and bring the low to the high in the same way. This aspect of the will has a special function, and this is where the archetype is really achieved in beauty, has a special function in concretizing perfected archetypal form, intended relationships on the divine physical plane, on the dense physical plane. So this will to express works it all out in perfect beauty. One of those 7 rays applies to you, okay, in terms of your soul ray particularly. The will to initiate, the will to unify, the will to evolve, the will to harmonize, the will to act, the will to cause, the will to expression. Okay, and I'll just end with the will to synthesize. This is interesting. It's a 2nd ray power under the 1st ray. It's a 2nd aspect under the 1st ray. It not only, it's the 2nd ray power which not only brings all things as self-perceptions together, but reveals their essential nature as of one substance. What's the difference between unity and synthesis? We've pondered that a long time, haven't we? You know, what does he say? Synthesis is, and unity has to be created, right? Something like that. Okay, so, you know, when we have unity, we look at all things as harmoniously related in a single field, but the articulation of who we are remains. You're you, I'm me, this is that, and it's all seen in a kind of oneness together, but we don't lose sight. We don't lose sight of all the many things that are seen in the oneness, right? But in synthesis, it's very interesting. So powerful is the substratum of being that in the state of synthesis, all things are seen as the same. And in the Greek philosophers, you know, the same and other. That was their big thing, you know. And you have to hold same and other at the same time in your consciousness. Can we do that? I mean, can we look at all the articulation, all the differentiation? That's what I mean by articulation. One thing separate from another, like staccato notes in music, right? If we look at all this differentiation, we can be overwhelmed by it, but through the process, this is a word I coined, through the process of infuception, I like that one, okay. Through the process of infuception, we see the absolute identical substantiality of everything. It's all one thing, you know. At the same time, it's all different and it's all one thing, and we have to hold that in our minds. All right, well, is there anything left to say? Yes. All right, you know, on and on and on. But what is the type of will you are cultivating? So we'll have a meditation on that today. Now that's the thing. You know, we all want to move ahead, right? Ahead, retracting along the emanative path that we have come from the One, right? It's going to take, you know, even a solar system is said to last for, what is it? 300 and, refresh me here. Oh yeah, 300 and, is it 310? 11, that, thank you, and 40 billion. Okay, 311 trillion and 40 billion years, and that's the solar system on the subjective level as well, right? Okay, so just think of that. And our little solar system is just a tiny little crystal compared to some of these larger structures. So we're talking about a long apparent time, which is no time at all. That's another matter, the superimposition of all time into eternal nowness, okay? That's a lot of fun. It'll drive you crazy, like it has me. Anyway, but right there, all right, that's a diversion. The question is, what is the type of will you need to take your next step? Is it what is it? You know, the will to know, the will to love, the will to be, what is it, you know? This is what we have to come up with, because we won't really move except randomly if we don't know the type of will we need and really, really cultivate this will. It all gets very, very practical. Up here in the stratosphere, there's all kinds of wills going on, making things appear, sustaining them, holding the whole universe in presence and objectivity. But right down here at the end of our tiny little emanative stream is a necessary will for each one of us, and we've got to select that and work on it. I think my wife would tell me, for me, it's the will to clean up. All right. Yesterday I was blessed by a sudden descent of the will to stop. So now that's going to happen again, the will to stop. Okay, it's over. Thank you.